Sunday Hope and Healing session on December 18th, 2022. Take two. Peace and love, everybody. It seemed like this was never going to get started today. Um, we're hopping on a little bit late, ran into some technical challenges and then end up broadcasting and realized we were actually broadcasting the wrong thing. Go figure, here we are. For another Hope and Healing Sunday Hope and Healing session. And our focal point for today is dealing with broken hearts. Dealing with broken hearts. Here we are a week before a week before Christmas for those who celebrate Christmas. And it can be a time of great joy for people. It can be a time of great sadness for some other people. And those people can sometimes be overlooked. And I'll be honest, what kind of to a degree inspired this is all the things that have been going, anytime I turn on social media in the last several days, there's been stuff about this young man. I think his name was Stephen Boss, known as DJ Twitch. I guess he was a dancer and a DJ for the Ellen show. I wasn't really familiar with the brother. My heart definitely goes out to his, as far as his eternal soul is concerned, and to his family, all those who love him. And it's a real thing that people experience pain. There are a lot of people who die each year of a broken heart. If anybody's committing suicide, it's because they're dealing with a broken heart. They're dealing with pain that they don't know how to process. And I don't want anybody to get to that point of feeling like you need to take your own life. I know that a lot of people can, kind of smile, and people have no idea what it is that they're going through. They can appear to have a lot of things going for them. And people may not have any clue how much pain they're in. They may actually even be crying out for help, but people might not be hearing. People might not be hearing what it is that they're saying. And I really want to acknowledge that. And anybody who's here dealing with a broken heart, we're going to offer some loving support here today. If you know anybody who's dealing with a broken heart, somebody who's in pain this holiday season, I encourage you to share the link with them immediately. We're going to see to it about getting some healing today in this Sunday Hope and Healing session. Curly Conscious King, greetings to you, my brother. Good to see you in the space as always. Love, light, and many blessings to you as well. Bountiful, bright blessings to you, and to anyone else who's here today. I don't know who all is here, but I do send you love and peace. I encourage you to make your presence known. And there's nothing to be bashful about, that you need to be bashful or shy about. This is a safe space. Now, I get that you might not want to put all your business out in the street, and that's fine. Nobody's expecting you to do that. But what I will say is, anybody who would like some healing, let it be known. A closed mouth does not get fed. Please let it be known. And there are things that are available to get you some support, to get you some help. And it doesn't make you weak because you need help. What actually is the weakness is being so arrogant as to think that you don't need it, right? Because in reality, we all need a little support. Okay. We all need some support. None of us is an island unto ourselves. None of us can do this thing called life alone. And ultimately, none of us can really successfully do life without God. That's my position. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And so, with that said, you can find us here on YouTube at Matrix Healing. Although in the new year, going to start doing some things a little bit differently. Um, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Royce Fletcher Thomason, as well as at Transcending the Matrix. And I encourage you all to check out those spaces. So let's get started. I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking today. I'm just going to go into the healing. That's kind of why I've been doing this in the first place. And you know, we started doing this in the early part of COVID, and it was on Wednesdays at that point during the day. When things started opening up, we went over to Sundays. Um, and I'm here. I'm here. I'm happy to serve, and I'm happy to offer the support. And I believe that that's certainly a part of my calling. And I definitely want to serve as in as great of a capacity as I can to as many people who are open and receptive to what it is that God has to share through me. Yet I'm not going to impose it on anybody either. Um, but what it is that we offer is something that is pretty significant, and I encourage people to take advantage of it. So, with that said, we're going to go ahead and get into the healing today. And whether you're a person who's dealt with heartbreak or just deep emotional pain, or you have somebody in your mind who has, or maybe you're a person who, like I have been in the past, um, you wanted to pride yourself in being strong and didn't want to acknowledge the pain that was there. Uh, and it always has a funny way of showing up in different ways, not the best ways. Um, the pain is going to be there until it's resolved, until it's healed. The dark space is going to be there until light is brought to it. All right. And something is going to come up in life that's going to bring it up. I can guarantee you that. Um, I can guarantee you that. So let's go ahead and get started. And if you have anybody uh, that you know or that you care about who's dealing with some things, dealing with some heartache or heartbreak, I want to encourage you to hold them in your heart. And by the way, heart disease is not just the result of high cholesterol and high blood pressure and high triglycerides and eating an unhealthy diet. That may be part of it. Hello there, I'm here. I can't see who the I'm is that's here, but welcome. You must be tuning in from the Transcending the Matrix Facebook group. So for me to see who you are on the Transcending the Matrix Facebook group, you have to actually give StreamYard, the third party service that we're streaming through, permission to include your name and your name and your picture. Oh, it's my mother. Hello, mother. Blessings to you, ma. All right. So, uh, again, if you have anybody who you know or you care about who's dealing with this, just hold them in your thoughts and hold them in your heart right now. And we're going to go ahead and get started with the healing. And I'm going to start with a prayer. So I want to ask everybody to just take a moment and just exhale for a moment. Just exhale. Let some of that stuff that you're holding on to tightly, let a little bit of that go. All right. And then on the inhalation, I want you to breathe the light of God's love right into your heart. So breathe the light of God's love right into your heart. And exhale the light of God's love right from your heart. So that love is all that you're breathing in and love is all that you're breathing out. And as you breathe in again, breathe in the light of God's love into your heart. On the exhalation, let that light of God's love spread throughout your chest. And as you continue to breathe in this way for a few breaths, with each inhalation, breathing in more and more of the light of God's love. And with each exhalation, letting the light of God's love expand and fill the entirety of your body, reaching in all of the cracks and the crevices and all of the hidden spaces, all of the places that you feel comfortable about and those that you don't. Even the places within yourself, within your beingness that you don't feel comfortable talking about. The places that you might feel shame or guilt or disappointment or uh, feeling conflicted. Invite the light of God's love into all of those different places. And from this place, God, I want to acknowledge that you are a healer that is bigger than any human problem that we can ever face. And I call forth your healing power on the behalf of every soul who is tapped into this healing right now, whether watching live, whether thought of or carried in the heart right now of somebody who's watching live, or anyone who catches us on the playback. The point of neutralizing the root cause of all heartache and heartbreak from the entire energetic structure of every strand of DNA in every cell of the body of each and every soul to whom uh, of whom we've just now spoken, and transmuting that into and replacing it with a feeling of wholeness like never before, with a feeling the power of your peace and the joy of your love and the power of your presence, and that manifesting outwardly, starting inwardly and manifesting outwardly in a way that draws fulfilling emotional connections and a profoundly healthy sense of self that is rooted in an identity that is founded upon you. And I bear witness to our wholeness on this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you. Thank you, God, for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. Let's first of all start out. We're going to start. We're going to start with before birth. Actually, I'm just feeling to start off right from the jump with fetal trauma and bringing wholeness and restoration to that aspect of us that has still been trapped in to some degree, has some unresolved things that we heard and experienced while we were yet in vitro, right? A lot of times we have issues. We don't have any idea where these issues come from. And a whole lot of times, if we're to be real about it, we have issues that we're blaming somebody else for, when at the end of the day, it's really our issue that we're projecting on somebody else. And if it isn't the case that we're projecting an issue on somebody else, it's still our issue that we're calling forth for somebody else to mirror back to us. Because otherwise, there's certain things that they just wouldn't be a resonance with us. We wouldn't feel an attraction to that or a draw to that. Okay. And so, even with that, while that's coming up right now, I want to address um, any sense of false pride, transmuting that into real profound self-acceptance and a confident humility, or a humble confidence, right? Now, I also want to look at any sense of guilt that we might have held on to for mistakes that we've made in the past. Okay. And transmuting that guilt into forgiveness. This is the season of giving. It's a season for giving. So let's forgive ourselves in the process, right? And let's look at karma related to people that we ourselves have hurt. Okay, whether real karma or imagined karma, where we feel on some level, maybe even subconsciously, responsible for other people's heartache or other people's heartbreak. All right, so we're going to forgive ourselves, and we're going to open up the pathways for genuine, authentic compassion towards anyone that we have brought pain to their doorstep, including ourselves. And that's a big one, making sure that we are forgiving ourselves for that, for any pain that we feel responsible for in anyone else's lives, whether past or present lover, friend, offspring, parent, or anybody else. Right? Okay. Now, I want to also address our judgments, starting with our self judgments that we have on ourselves, and I could really maybe even say ways that we, quietly condemn ourselves. Ways that we might beat up ourselves, our negative self talk, right? And so we want to neutralize that negative self talk. I say we want to neutralize it, really. Ultimately, it's God who's neutralizing. I'm just telling you what's happening. Greetings, Reverend Shirley. It's been a moment since we've seen you. Glad to have you in the space. All right. And okay, so let's look at actually strengthening and fortifying our sense of compassion and acceptance in the place of that judgment, self judgment, and judgment towards other people. Really, judgment that we have towards other people is really connected to, judgment that we have towards ourselves, or ways that we feel judged, and we don't like holding that inside, and we end up projecting it outward on other people. That's the real of the deal. If you want to accept that or not, that's up to you. But that's, you know, the only reason you're judging other people is because you're judging yourself. It feels too uncomfortable to do that sometimes, so you project it on somebody else. Okay. And so, and yet we don't have to beat up on ourselves about that. All right. We're just making space to invite the light of God's love into the space. And if you feel like your toes are stepped on, the point here isn't to step on your toes. Please don't get defensive about it. All I'm mentioning is things that are actually coming up. I'm checking them, and these things are showing up like loud and clear. And so the point isn't to be offended by it. The point is to just let the light of God's love into those spaces within us, maybe deeply, deeply tucked away subconscious aspects of our thought process that we might not even really think about, but that stored in our cells, in our DNA. All right. And so let's see here. Something that I want to deal with real quickly is this is coming up. I didn't expect this was going to come up. Not surprised, but it uh, is a fear of intimacy. Okay, a fear of intimacy, and intimacy is largely connected with truly being with another person. It isn't just it isn't just about sexual intercourse or physical contact with another person. That can be present in it. But I mean there are people who make a living selling their bodies that will let a man enter them but won't kiss him because the kissing feels too intimate. So, uh, there's certainly much more to fear of intimacy than uh, how comfortable you feel sharing your body with another person. Really, at the heart of intimacy is allowing yourself to see yourself in another and allowing another to see themselves in you. And that requires some emotional nakedness, right? That requires really allowing yourself to be laid bare before yourself, before your own eyes, and before that of another. And a reason that a lot of times we have that fear of intimacy is we have a fear of being judged or a fear of being rejected, right? A fear of being hurt. Okay. All righty. And so let's address that fear of being rejected. Ooh, boy, that's a big one. We want to invite the light of God's love into, and I want you all to everything that you hear me say, everything that comes up, I want you to invite the light of God's love into the place within you where that might be the case. Okay. There's no way it can hurt you by welcoming in the light of God's love into any area of your life. Okay. Even if you don't agree with what I'm saying. Okay. All right. So I want to look at fears of the past projected into the future. Okay. We want to resolve fears of the past projected into the future. Okay. And want to resolve pain of the past as a hindrance to the future. Okay. And I want to address the self sabotaging mechanism that we sometimes have to keep people at bay, right? Sometimes we have a huge role in our own heartbreak and we don't even recognize it. It doesn't make you a bad person because you do that. It just makes you a person that ends up hurting more than you would otherwise need to. Okay, but that's okay. Forgive yourself for it. Or invite the light of God's love into those spaces within us that might lead us to do that, right? This isn't about condemnation. This isn't about judgment. This is about healing, deliverance, transformation, bringing in space for a whole new you, the best you, to be able to come forth and shine and prosper and blossom and be all that you can be. All right. Mm, all right. So I want to really touch on for a moment um, lessons that you've taken in from people who were giving you the best advice they had, but filtered through their own stuff. Greetings, J Love. Good to have you in the space today. Jennifer Bliss, peace and love to you, my sister. Alrighty. All right. So I want to take a moment right now, and I want to look at the connection between our hormones and our heart. Okay. We want to bring some healing where that's concerned. Um, and allow the hormones to be the servant of the heart, not the master, right? Like they say about intellect, it makes a wonderful servant, but a poor master, a wonderful servant. Hormones are kind of the same, right? But so many of the decisions that we make are decisions based on what's going on in us hormonally, right? And so we want to, that's like the um, horse pulling the carriage. Melanie Ivy, I never thought I would say this, Melanie, but I must say that I'm disappointed to see you here today. I thought that you'd be doing something else today. Uh, Not that it's bad to have you, but uh, sorry to see you here today. I was expecting that you'd be doing something else today. Um, I digress. That was based on a private conversation. So you all don't worry about it. Don't try to figure it out. Um, I want to, cool. All right. Glad to hear that. All right. So let me take a minute now, and I want to I want to deal with a thing that I realized that I had. Um, and just in a spirit of transparency, um, when when I'm making when I'm doing the stuff I need to do for the posting on YouTube, I go in after the broadcast and I end up creating and uploading a thumbnail and um, put some tags in and stuff. And um, one of the things that asks on YouTube, which is being broadcast to, at least one person is here from YouTube, um, it'll ask, what category does this broadcast fall under? YouTube, when you're posting content to YouTube, it'll ask you that. If you go in and, tweak the things. And like the default setting is entertainment. It's got a few science and something. It's got a few different things. And I have ended up, the thing that I felt this best fit in, the category that I felt this best fit in was people and blogs. Now that's not, if I were to design a category to put these in, it wouldn't be people and blogs. It'd probably be wellness, personal development, something like that. But those weren't available options. So people and blogs seem to have fit the best in terms of the options that were available. And some of these things that come up, I have an awareness of them because of my own personal experience. And I know that if I've been through some stuff, that there are other people who've been through some things. In fact, I really believe that there was something that I heard that a friend shared, also in ministry when I was in college, said that something that he had heard shared some time ago was that your misery is your ministry. And so things that I've I have a passion for the things that I address because of things that I've been through. I have a compassion for people who are dealing with certain things because of the things I myself have experienced and people that I care about have experienced. But there have been a whole lot that I've experienced in terms of these things that come up, and maybe not in the exact way that you might, but it certainly um, it certainly serves as uh, something to as a focal point for me in terms of ways I can be blessings to other people, things that I've worked on with healing with myself and realize therefore that their issues, I want to offer support to other people in those areas too. All right. And so I want to look for a moment at I want to look for a moment at feeling like you can't trust. If you've been heartbroken, you might feel like you can't trust people. You might feel like your trust had been broken. You want to bring healing to that. You might feel like you don't really trust yourself because of decisions that you made in the past that didn't work out so well. All right. You might feel you might feel that you don't really even trust God's love for you because of things that have happened in the past. You might not trust that you are deeply loved and cared for, right? We want to make room to welcome the light of God's love into whatever places those might be. None of the heartbreak that you've ever experienced was due to a lack of God's love for you. The heartbreak that you experienced was because you chose to use your free will in a way that might not have aligned with God's best plan for you. To a large extent, that's the case, right? There might have been something that you might have been missing. Uh, that there might have been some red flags that you were ignoring. There might have been, and I mean, there could be situations. Some people feel heartbroken because of a loss, because of someone's transition, right? Well, we want to bring healing into that space too. All right. And another thing that I want to look at is how how much you feel like how do I want to put this? Feeling that life is benevolent. You know, people experience pain in life, no doubt about that. People experience pain in life, but pain, God doesn't have any, God doesn't have any plans to make you feel less than, to make you feel inadequate, to make you feel unworthy. It doesn't mean those things don't happen. They're life things that happen in the midst of us living our lives the best that we know how in the moment. Sometimes some moments aren't as good as others, but a lot of the decisions that we make are decisions that we made based on where we were, and there was somewhere that we were missing the mark along the way. And so I want to bring compassion to us for the areas where we've missed the mark and maybe blamed ourselves. Okay? Want to bring the light of God's love into that space. And something else I want to support us in bringing in is more like real self-love. Okay. I mean real self-love. I don't mean just like a trip to the mall or a trip to your phone or computer to see what's going on Amazon, um, or getting a massage or pedicure or anything like that. Those things are part of it, but what things you allow yourself to put up with are a part of it too. What kind of healthy things you expose yourself to are part of that too. Your commitment to your growth, development, and unfoldment is part of that too. What you put in your body is part of that too. The people that you surround yourself with are part of that too. The things that you expose yourself to are part of that too. Taking time to be still and to be quiet and to spend time alone with God is part of that too. All of that's part of that. Being good to the people that are good to you is part of that too. Sometimes we're good to people that we want something from or that we fear that we'll lose something from, rather than being good to the people that are good to us because we feel that's already taken care of, so we don't have to put much effort there. All right, so let's kind of make room for some rewiring where that's concerned. All right, and make room for some really true, authentic, real love, authentic love. All right. I want to deal with the heartbreak in connection to feeling that we've lost love. Mm, mm. That's a real thing that people experience. Feeling like they've lost love. And it could be because things didn't turn out the way that we wanted them to be. It could be because somebody isn't in our lives anymore, because they chose to leave, because for our own good health we had to leave, or maybe circumstances took them away. Maybe even death took them away. We want to bring compassion for ourselves into the place where that pain is. And deep, abiding self-acceptance. Deep, abiding self-acceptance. And a willingness to be vulnerable with God. A willingness to be vulnerable with God and really welcome God into the places where that pain has been. All right. It's nothing God doesn't know anyway. But we can even close ourselves off from God when we're in pain, when we're going through things. The time where we most need to allow ourselves to feel God's presence are the times that we're most likely to kind of push it away. Now, this isn't usually something we consciously think to do. It's usually something that we, deeply subconsciously do, right? And oftentimes it's under our radar. It's in our blind spot, and we don't even recognize it as happening. Alrighty. All right. Now, something else I want to deal with real quickly is a scarcity mentality. So, I want to welcome the light of God's love into the place where we're holding this scarcity mentality and allow that sense of scarcity to be transformed into a sense of infinity, infinite availability of God to deliver what it is that we need. And a lot of times we get our idea on how things have been and wanting things, we think we want things to be a certain way, and maybe they don't work out the way that we wanted them to, or the way that we thought that we wanted them to. Maybe the way that things work out are the polar opposite of how we would have wanted things to be. But let's make room to welcome, welcome God's peace, God's compassion, God's steering, God's direction, God's wisdom, and God's transformative power into those spaces, right? All right. So let's address the heart walls, right? There are very few things on the surface of the earth, actual structures on the surface, or very few things on the surface of the earth that you can actually see from space. One of them is the Great Wall of China. It's so massive that you can actually see it from space. And some of us have something tantamount to the Great Wall of China around our hearts. We've got these walls erected around our hearts to keep from ever being hurt again. And what we don't realize is that in doing so, we're hurting our own hearts. We're doing it to try to protect ourselves, but we're really just cutting ourselves off from our own lifeline. Okay. That doesn't mean we don't need a filter on our hearts. We do. Some stuff isn't worthy of making it into our hearts. We do need to have a filter, but we don't need to be closed off from that which can actually nourish and sustain us. All right. And so let's transform the wall into a filter so that only love and light can come in. But love and genuine, pure love and divine light can actually make it through with no problem at all. Right? Okay. It's that other gookity gook that needs to stay on the outside, go somewhere and kick rocks. Right? All right. How you all feeling out there, by the way? Just wanted to check in with you all, see how you're doing out there while we're continuing forth with the healing. All right. I'll look at heartbreak that's triggered or triggers for heartbreak. Okay. Let's look at triggers for heartbreak that we don't even recognize. Um, all right. Melanie says feeling peaceful. Glad you're feeling peaceful, Melanie. All right. Let's look at our fear triggers, at our pain triggers. In a nutshell, at our ego triggers. In what ways are our egos triggered? Okay. And let's address those root causes of the trigger. Okay. Because sometimes we end up taking things out on other people that don't deserve it. I heard this brilliant thing recently. Making the person in your present pay for the things in your past equals no future. There's actually a lot of wisdom in that. And so when we do that, it's because we're triggered. And sometimes we've been hurt and we end up hurting other people as a result. There, there's something I'm holding in my mind. It's something that's very private to someone, and I don't know that I would even say this to them out loud. So I'm not going to say it out loud now either. Um, but there's a thing that I'm thinking, and so for any of us that might relate to this, I'm just going to, through the power of our intention, we're going to help welcome the light of God's love into those spaces within us. Okay. All right. Okay. Sometimes we'll sometimes we'll focus on entertaining relationships that can only go a certain place because it's something that we feel like we've got some control of. And then we don't open ourselves up to things that could actually go in other places that can actually be more transformative, more healthy for us. Okay. And more healthy for the people that we might be using as a fill in. That fill in person might be a totally different person than what we're wanting them to fill in for ultimately without even recognizing it. All right. Okay. Now, I want to take a moment and look at the collective consciousness of people who've been seasoned by life a little bit, who've been around a little bit, um, and uh, have become jaded, have become jaded as it relates to matters of the heart. Okay, all right. We want to bring healing to that, and really dealing with the collective consciousness of folks of a certain age. Um, if you've lived for a little while, you probably have had some pretty significant disappointments, right? Um, and you might be around other people who've experienced similar types of things, maybe. And maybe all of your feedback is coming from other people who are maybe have been a little bit jaded too, right? Or people who might be well meaning, but just not giving sound advice. Okay. Or people who may be projecting their own drama and issues onto you. Okay. All right. All right. Now, something I want to look at right now, real quickly, is I want to look at sense of being abandoned by God. I do want to take a poll on this real quickly. I want to see how many people feel comfortable being honest about this. How many people here have felt abandoned by God before? I'm gonna raise my hand. The healing minister, I'm gonna raise my hand. I felt abandoned by God before. How many of you are willing to admit that you've felt abandoned by God before? Okay. It's no shame in it. It doesn't mean that you're not a good person. It doesn't mean that you know, that you're a bad person or that you're not a person of faith or anything like that. It doesn't mean that. Yeah, well, I see a couple people admitting that you've been there before. Yeah. I believe in my heart of hearts, I believe that we all have at one point or another. Sometimes we don't really feel comfortable with acknowledging that because we think that it means something negative about us. How can I believe that God abandoned me? You know, and you maybe form some negative judgments about yourself for feeling that way. But the reality is we've all felt disappointed with God before. For anybody who believes in God, you felt disappointed with God. Now, at the end of the day, God isn't sweating that because God knows where you're coming from in that. God's not offended by your feeling abandoned by God. God doesn't want you to feel abandoned by God because God knows that's not good for you to feel that way. And yet God's never abandoned any of us. You know what's interesting? I want to put another poll out there. Do you feel more comfortable? Not more comfortable. Are you more likely to spend more time with God when you're going through hell or when everything is easy breezy? Just tell the truth. I've done that before too. I've done that before too. I'm guessing that there's somebody else, maybe one or two people here who've done that before too. All right. So, no, I'm going to acknowledge that is a character deficiency. The part of us that's only around when we need something. Woo! Tell the truth about it. Doesn't mean that you don't ever come around, but sometimes we can take certain things for granted. All right. So we're going to forgive ourselves for the things that we've taken for granted. Whether it was God that we took for granted, blessings that God has bestowed upon us in our lives that we've taken for granted, or people that we've taken for granted. Right? We're going to forgive ourselves for that, have compassion for ourselves for that, and do better. Okay. Look like I was the only one that admitted that there have been times where I've been more likely to turn to God and spend more intimate time with God when I'm going through problems than when everything is easy breezy. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one here who's done that before. All right. And while that's not been the case the entirety of my life, there have certainly been times uh, where that's been my experience. All righty. I'm gonna take a moment right now, and I know I'm not Reverend Shirley. I know I'm not alone in that. Um, Thank you for your transparency. Um, and yes, it's a truth, even a reality, even for ministers. It's because we're all human, and all of us miss the mark sometimes. All of us miss the mark sometimes. All right, where was it I was about to go? All right, here's something I wanted to deal with real quickly. And that's us distracting ourselves. We create busyness in our lives. We find ourselves constantly running on the go. And it doesn't mean that there aren't things that we need to take care of. There are things that we need to take care of. But sometimes we use the busyness as a coping mechanism for not dealing with certain things, for not dealing with things that happened in the past, in some cases, and sometimes out of fear of seeing what the future has to offer. A way that we've put ourselves in a box and closed ourselves off, right? And so want to invite the presence of God's love into the space to help us see that in ourselves, to help us identify it in ourselves when we're doing it, and in the recognition to do differently. A lot of us have very busy lives. I barely have enough fingers on a hand to count how many jobs I have. Um, a lot of us have a lot of things going on in our lives. But is any of us really too busy to really spend intimate time with God? Ain't nothing in your life that's more important than that. Literally, nothing is more important than that. And in our busyness, the reality is there's nothing that we're too busy to do. They're just things that we don't prioritize. There's nothing that we're too busy to do. They're just things that we don't prioritize. Anything that we choose to do, we can find a way to do it. Okay. Now, that might not be something we might really want to fully own. Again, because of how we might think that makes us look. Okay. Again, we're going to forgive ourselves and move forward. Have compassion for ourselves and move forward, while being completely honest with ourselves. Okay. All right. I didn't even realize the time. Um, I think maybe because I had such a difficult time starting this. So we started late. And actually, I started, then started again because I was in the wrong thing broadcasting. Uh, I worked on trying to get this going from 3 different devices today, people. We're going to do a couple more and then we'll close it down for today. All right. Something that I want us to do right now is I want us to take a moment, and if you will, just take a moment and close your eyes if you can. And in this season, it's a week from Christmas. In this season, I want you to kind of see a very nicely wrapped gift in front of you. Beautifully wrapped gift. And I'd like to ask you to start. You might see bows on the gift. You may want to begin to unravel the bow, remove the bow. Some people like to just rip the paper off. Some people like to do it delicately. Whatever way it goes, do that. But don't open the gift completely. Just remove the wrapping that's around the gift. Right? Just remove the wrapping that's around the gift and allow yourself to just behold what's the external packaging of this gift. And on my signal, not yet, but on my signal, I want you to remove that packaging. And on the inside, I want you to find, get ready to remove the packaging now. And on the inside, I want you to find the healed, completely healed version of your heart. The completely healed version of your heart. Radiating in fullness, in peace and joy, in authentic empowerment. And I want you to take, this is a gift that God wants to give you this Christmas, is a completely healed heart. A heart that is beyond all the stuff that's in your past and all the stuff that you worry about in your future, but a heart that is completely restored to wholeness, maybe more, maybe not just restored, wholer than it's ever been before, radiating with goodness. And I want you to take this gift of this completely healed, completely whole heart. I want you to take that and I want you to put it in your chest. So that you've got this completely, that you're taking complete ownership of this healed heart, completely healed, completely healthy, vibrant heart that's completely whole. And allow yourself to feel whatever feelings are coming up regarding the idea of you having a whole heart, a healed heart, a completely healed heart. God offers you this gift this Christmas. Depending on how much you receive this gift, maybe this is the place that you'll give from to. God, thank you for the healing that's taken place today, for the healing of hearts that's taken place. Thank you for the outpouring of your love. And thank you for the increased level of love that those here today have been able to love themselves enough to receive. Thank you, God, for all of these blessings. In Hashem Yeshua HaMashiach. Ashe and Amen. It is done. It is done. It is done. Well, Reverend Dr. Hill, it's good to see you here today. Merry Christmas to you, Tara. Good to see you here today. Many blessings to you and to Melanie, to Reverend Shirley, Curly Conscious King, my mama, and everybody else who's been here today. God bless you. I love you. Um, Probably not going to be going live next Sunday. It's going to be Christmas Day. I'm already ministering in the morning. um, I may not be going live on Christmas Day. Uh, if I do, it'll be a surprise. But don't. I would say not to count on it. So this may actually be our last um, broadcast uh, until New Year's Day. I probably will go live on New Year's Day. Or maybe I'll surprise you at some time other than on Christmas Day. Or maybe I'll just drop in for a quick second. But I'm not making any promises where that's concerned. But as always, I wish you all a bunch of peace and love. If you celebrate Christmas, I wish you a Merry Christmas. Is Hanukkah still going on? I'm not sure if Hanukkah is still going on. Happy belated Hanukkah. If you celebrate Kwanzaa, Happy Kwanzaa to you. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whoever you're with, even if who you're with is just you, I pray that you find yourself in good company. God bless you. I love you. And we'll catch you next time.